The cleanup before the storm, but it's a little too late. The rain is back from the North Sound all the way to Thurston County. Everyone is dealing with heavy rain.
And buckle up, it is going to be sticking around. All that water has to go somewhere. The big concerns as we head into the weekend, flooding and the threat of landslides. Happy Veterans Day. Glad to have you with us. I'm Greg Copeland.
I'm Jessica Janner Castro, and from all of us at King 5, thank you to every person who answered the call to serve our country. A lot to get to on this Veterans Day. We begin our live team weather coverage with Mike Everett with the latest on the storm. Mike.
Hi there. We are tracking what is the first of 2 rounds of heavy rain that'll make its way over the region over the next couple days. I'll give you the details on that in a moment. First, want to give you a live look from Everett and Payne Field. Pick any field anywhere in the Pacific Northwest right now. It is wet out there. We've been seeing bands of heavy rain moving through most of the day, and this is just the appetizer preparing for the main course. If there is one silver lining to all this cloud cover out there, it's that there's not a whole lot of wind associated with this system like the last one that we had move in. As we take a look out towards Westport, you can see that there are some ripples out there, but not a whole lot in the way of whitecaps. So what we mean when we say an atmospheric river is very easily illustrated right here, and what its intent is. So atmospheric rivers are very common. In fact, at any given time there's about 4 to 6 of them in a hemisphere, but it's when it's pointed at you that it becomes relevant, and this one is pointed right at us here in Seattle in the Pacific Northwest. Now over the next 24 hours we're expecting this to train right in our direction, but as we move towards about 2 p.m. on Friday, we'll cut the moisture off briefly, so you'll see that plume will actually get a little bit of a break in it. We'll continue to see some light shower activity. We'll see more rain make its way up towards Vancouver Island, but then just want to give you a heads up as we go through the weekend. By the time we get into Sunday and back into Monday, we're going to tap into that once again, and it's going to sag back down from the north to the south. So this is going to be a 2-part system. We get the first part tonight, and then it looks like as we go into the second half of the weekend, we're going to catch part 2. As that moves through, that will drop snow levels back down again, but as it stands right now, those snow levels are way up high, 9 and even 10,000 feet, and that's going to be a problem. So what to expect? Heavy rain for about the next 24 hours. It looks like on Friday afternoon is when we'll cut that off. That's going to be creating a lot of flood concerns, not only river flooding. We're seeing a lot of those river levels coming up as it stands, but urban flooding is going to be a big issue. And we're also looking at the potential for slides, the burn scars. A lot of our canyons and valleys and even a lot of our cliff sides are going to be in peril over the next 24 hours, and then that second round moves in. Putting Futurecast into motion, it looks like we will be tracking that rain overnight tonight. We'll get a break in the action tomorrow afternoon, and then we're going to fire all that up again in the second half of the weekend. I got the details in your full forecast coming up, but as it stands right now, let's take a look outside. Drew, how is it out there?
Well, down here in Olympia, the rains have picked up this afternoon, but really it's been constant for most of the day. Still no urban flooding, no flooding to report of, minor or major here in Thurston County, but a lot of the crews that hope to have this Veterans Day off have been called in. Some of them will be on standby just in case the wet conditions continue into the evening. Take a look at some of the video we shot throughout the day today. It's just been wet across Thurston County. I-5 was slow going through Olympia early this afternoon. While we have not seen any of those big winds, still about 60 homes in Olympia were without power for a couple of hours this morning when a tree snapped in half and took down a power line. PSE crews were expecting to be busy the next couple of days, as are those city and county public works crews, clearing gutters and sidewalks of all the leaves. They can block storm drains and cause puddles and closures and problems. City of Olympia Public Works says anything you can do to pick up leaves right now would be greatly appreciated, something Tim Smolin does for his neighbors every fall.
Yeah, it's really therapeutic. You know, it's meditative. You know, it's time alone, and you can just reflect on whatever you want to reflect on, what you're making for dinner and who you're going to see next.
Tim works for the state. Today was his day off. He decided to spend it out in the conditions. He says he considers it like a workout, and he was nice enough to do some of the yard work for some of his older neighbors. So while there are concerns about urban flooding, not on his street here in Olympia. Live near the state capitol, Drew Mickelson, King 5 News.
All right, Drew, thank you. And obviously not just urban flooding. All that rain can lead to landslides.
And as more rain falls, the risk increases. King 5's Glenn Farley is out in the mess in Seattle, which has a lot of those slide risks. Glenn?
Well, absolutely. And it doesn't matter if you're in Seattle, even near downtown Seattle, like Beacon Hill or Tacoma or Mukilteo or in the Kitsap Peninsula. Anywhere there is a steep slope, there is a landslide risk. Of course, we had the nation's most deadly landslide up at Oso back in 2014. But that is not the same animal as your typical, what we often call mudslides.
And they behave really differently, and they tend to happen in different parts of the year and respond to rainfall differently. So not all landslides are the same. That's right.
Dave Montgomery is a professor of geomorphology at the University of Washington. In other words, he studies how dirt moves. The typical landslide in the Northwest works like this, and a key to it is an impervious layer of clay not far below the surface. When we get lots of rain, and that rain soaks through the upper layers of soil, it eventually reaches that clay layer. But it can't go through the clay. Because the water builds up on top of the clay, the upper layer of soil no longer sticks and slides off.
Shallow landslides tend to be much closer tied to the peaks in rainfall intensity. So you can look at sort of the 24-hour rainfall intensity, how much rain we get in a day, as being a pretty good predictor for that day or the next day or two in terms of shallow landslides.
Now, the U.S. Geological Survey has come up with a system they've been actually using for years now, a very simple graphic that tracks the rainfall at all the airports around the region from Tacoma Narrows to Payne Field, including SeaTac. And those tell you that, yeah, you've got a lot of rain here, and that landslide risk has gone up. We'll show you what that looks like tonight on King 5 News at 5 o'clock. Live in Seattle, Glenn Farley, King 5 News.
Okay, Glenn, thank you. We have more weather coverage for you coming up. And remember, you can keep an eye on the forecast 24/7 with the King 5 app. It is free in your phone's app store.